viewers, today I will be discussing the decadence of our countries. Looking very sad over here with a pool that is closed. Maybe one day we will recover from this, but it's going to be a long time, very long time. In our lifetime, we have never, ever been like this. Everything empty, businesses closing down, no money for anybody. What happens when we run out of food? When we run out of our basic services? When we have to create our own stuff? What happens then? What happens when we have to fight for basic resources like food and water? We're going downhill, my friends, downhill. As the rich people sit on their resorts with everything open and all their services, your regular folk sits here with nothing. Nothing open, no vending machines, very minimal services. They want to blame COVID. I say we blame those that implemented tough restrictions. This is what tough restrictions have done to our city. They have closed things down, like a basic hotel with a pool. They have misled us, let small businesses burn down to the ground financially. It's incredible what they've done. The rich get richer while the poor will have to fight each other for food. After 2020, 2021 will not be the same. For some people it will get better, for most it will get worse. But it doesn't work out when most of the people go downhill and lose everything, lose their homes, they lose their businesses, their way of living, their kids lose their education. There's just nothing in the future for them. How do you go back? How can you go back? For me, it has been a ridiculous lockdown. 10 months of not working the job that I like to work. I haven't been able to go back because of the tough restrictions. My place of work may lose their building. They may have to sell off their building. A company that makes millions of dollars at 100% capacity can never come back from 25% capacity. It's just not happening. Not for this long. It's been 10 months since the lockdown began. And there's no end in sight, no end of the restrictions. How can we help? How can we go back? How can we come back from that? How can you come back from the fear? How can your children come back from the restrictions? How can they feel free again and safe? There's so many states that people are escaping from because of tough lockdown restrictions. And I don't blame them. You waited long enough. You did what was asked of you. You hunkered down for 60 days during the beginning of the pandemic. You flattened the curve. Then the summer came. You were allowed a little bit of freedom, but restricted capacities. How can you come back? Especially now when the stimulus money is gone. How can families come back to how they used to be? How is it possible to progress unless you cut down on the things that hinder your life? It's almost impossible to come back. I don't think so. I'm not going to be laughing in the future about this. This was serious. A lot of people ended up homeless. A lot of us ended up without jobs, having to sacrifice a lot in our lives. If you were one of the few that did not have to lock down, one of the few that didn't lose their jobs and were able to keep working, from home or because you were an essential person, I congratulate you. You chose the right path in your life. But it still affected you. The lockdown still affected you. It changed the way you go to work, changes the way that you act and interact with people at work. And then your family members and the people around you, the ones that did get affected, it affects you too. Because now you have to help them or be around them or pass around them. It affected everybody, even the rich. So if you're one of those rich guys that the pandemic didn't affect you at all, and you think that you're gonna be safe in the future, guess what? I don't think so. Once everybody that doesn't have anything loses what they have, they're gonna be coming for your stuff. Okay? You're not safe. You will never be safe as long as there's people living amongst you. You can bunker down for as long as you want. But guess what? Eventually, the people that protect you are going to come for you and take what you have. For those of you rich people that have everything and you have security at your homes, guess what? Once everybody becomes homeless and lose everything, once people start losing their jobs, their homes, and they have no money for food, they're going to come for you. And the people that protect you might not be able to protect you. Hell, even their families might be starving, so they might have to take from you. So if you think you're a rich guy, that you're protected and bunker down, forget about it. You should have helped those. You should have helped those that needed the help, because it's just a matter of time before they come for your stuff. And this is not about political. This is not about black and white. It's not about red or blue, Democrat or Republican. This is about sustainability of the economy. So you can ask me, what can we do about this decadence, this failing, this downfall of society? Well, my recommendation, what I'm doing, is I'm following God, the universe, a higher power. I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm just focusing on myself, on what I can do, because nobody else can do anything for me unless they have the resources and they want to and they're willing. So you gotta prepare yourself. You gotta get a survival book. You gotta learn skills that we used to use, our ancestors used to use to survive, without electricity, without basic services like internet and, phones and stuff like that. You have to be able to survive like how they used. So I say we would have to go back to how we used to be, like in the 1800s, where there was no electricity, there was no sewer system. It was only living off the land, living off what you can collect, what you can make, what you can craft. You have to learn the basic survival skills, or what they call modern survival skills, which is how traditional people used to live back in the 1800s. If you look at somebody like George Washington, they had to make him and his troops, slaves, whatever you want to call them, they had to make their own food. They had to raise their own grains. They had to come up with their own solutions. So we might have to learn that stuff. A couple of books were recommended. One of them was called The Lost Ways. And the book teaches you which plants to cultivate for medicine, for food. Also tells you a story of how some of those guys ended up hunting with very little bullets and how they made their own bullets. And also shows you how to stockpile stuff so you can maintain and live off the land. Learn basic skills that the natives used to use to survive. We have to learn from our ancestors. There's a lot of things that have been forgotten. So We need to go back, regress. Once they shut the internet down, once there's no running water, we're going to have to find a way. You're going to have to protect yourself from the people that are going to take your supplies. So let's say everything does go to shit tomorrow. Let's say the internet goes out. No internet, okay, we still got electricity. But then the electricity goes out. Oof, now it's tough. Because now, those of you who have electric heat cannot heat your homes. And that's really tough when you have to suffer without the proper tools. When you don't have wood or a wood stove to burn wood. Also, water. Once the running water stops, what are you going to do for water? Are you going to go to your neighbors? Your neighbors is probably going to be going to you for water. So we have to learn the basic old ways of surviving. And it's harder now. There's way more people than before. And most water bodies are polluted. So, how many of us can learn how to make a fire from scratch? When was the last time you made a fire from scratch to heat yourself or to cook something? So these are things that we have to think about. We have to relearn what our ancestors did on a daily basis to survive. We cannot depend on the structured society anymore. We cannot depend on basic services like laundry and internet and phone, and we cannot depend on that anymore. We have to find our own ways, go back, regress, go back to the stories that made people survive. There's people that live in wood cabins in the woods, and they know how to survive, and they sustain, and they end up living healthier lives. So we have to learn from those people. It's going to be very dark one day. There's not going to be any electricity, no running water. People are going to be outside looting, trying to break into your house to take anything that you have. Money's not going to mean anything. If you thought that electronic money like Bitcoin is going to save you, it's not. Once the internet is gone, once those applications are gone, it's not there anymore. It doesn't mean anything. So we have to learn basic survival, traditional living, back like in the 1800s, where there was no electricity, there was no sewer system. Remember, there's a lot of dark stories from back in the day when people ran out of food and ran out of water, and they did horrible things. Horrible things. Some people even went crazy and started eating their family members because they were starving. There was people that were eating their own children after they ate their pets. They run out of food. They don't have weapons to defend themselves. It could be very dark. It could be very grim. People are laughing about it right now because you have everything. But if we were to get hit with a collapse so damaging that we cannot come back from it, how can you get out of your city or your place? How can you find a place that can be sustainable? How can you sustain yourself and your family? These are things that we have to start thinking about. The doomsday preppers have been talking about it for a long time. But even they will have a difficult time defending themselves, protecting what they have. So we have to come up with plans and better ways. We have to be there. Our minds have to be clear so we can do this, so you can survive the future. God forbid, you don't want to have to eat your pet because you're so hungry there's nothing around you. My friends, this is it. I hope you learned all the lessons that I taught you in the short time that Tea of Interest was up. Enjoy it. Take care of yourselves. See you out there. Survive. Goodbye.